from Cooking by Moonlight, and today I'm going to show you how to make a red wine slush. Red wine slushes are absolutely fantastic to serve in the summertime. They're a really great drink to have outside. They're very cooling. It's kind of like a frozen sangria. This one is a little different from a sangria based on its ingredients, and it kind of has more of a red wine taste instead of a fruit juice taste. I'm going to make it and break it into 2 different batches because my blender isn't industrial size, so I can't make it quite that large. But also, you want to only have enough to serve them out, or else they'll get melty while everybody sits by the pool, and then you just have red wine with other stuff in it drink instead, which is not as good as the red wine slushie. To start, I'm going to take a half of this bottle of red wine and pour it into my blender. You don't need to be super precise here. Oh, not even close. You need to be more precise than that. All right, that's about a half bottle right there. Next, I'm going to add in some brandy. If you want a drink that's a little less strong and maybe more flavor, you could use triple sec or another kind of orange liqueur here. Even a berry liqueur could be good. The entire recipe calls for a half cup, so I'm going to pour that out now. And again, the entire recipe will use that entire bottle of wine. So here we're just going to put half in the blender. Here I have a half cup of brandy, and to that I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of white sugar. And I'm just going to use my whisk and get the sugar to dissolve in the brandy. You don't have to do this step, but if you don't, you kind of end up with like the little bits of sugar granules in your drink, and it's not quite as good. This should just take a second to whisk together, and it makes your drink taste a lot smoother. All right, and again, you're just trying to get it to at least partially dissolve in there so that you don't have as much of a raw sugar taste. To my half cup of brandy and 1/4 cup of sugar, I'm going to add a half cup of orange juice. You can use fresh squeezed orange juice if you want to. It probably has a better flavor. But for these, I'm going to use orange juice that somebody already squeezed for me. And I'm going to whisk it up one more time, make sure that sugar's all nice and dissolved in there. I'm going to take the orange juice, brandy, and sugar mixture and pour half of it into my blender. Again, we're going to do the recipe in 2 batches. So I only need half of it here, and the other half is for that other half bottle of red wine. To the red wine mixture, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of strawberries. These are frozen strawberries. It's going to give it a really nice texture and a lot of extra flavor. You could use fresh strawberries too if you want, just you might have to add in a little bit more ice at the end, especially if it's a hot day. All right, now that I have my strawberries in there, I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of ice. You really can play it by ear here. It's just going to depend on how cold your other ingredients were and how warm the day is. I'm going to start with about 1 cup, and then we'll go from there. And now that everything else is in there, our last step is to add the lime. I'm going to add half of the juice of the lime into the blender. And if you're having a little trouble, you can use a fork to get that juice out. I don't have one of those fancy juicers that a lot of people have because I live in a small apartment with no space. So I'm just going to use a fork. It works just as well, and it is pretty cheap since you already probably have it. Now that all the ingredients are in there, or rather half of the ingredients for a half batch, I'm just going to pulse it until it's in a nice slushy texture. It should just take about 30 seconds. All right, and I think mine needs just a few more ice cubes, so I'm going to toss them in, and then it'll be ready to go. Once everything's all processed, you're ready to serve. Half of the batch should make 2 to 3 servings, so if you make the whole thing, you have between 4 and 6, depending on how big you like your red wine slushies. These look absolutely delicious. I love to have these on a warm day out by the pool. It's a great way to have red wine but still cool off since normally it's served warm. I'm Houck from Cooking by Moonlight, and this has been how to make a red wine slushie.